Is Star Citizen pay to win? It's a question which can be found in all corners of the internet, with both sides of the debate arguing vehemently for their side. I'm a semi-active Star Citizen player, been following the project since early 2015, and I've been backing it since October 2018. I agree with both camps in many regards, but I lean towards the no it's not side of the argument. Steve here. Say hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
That sounded creepy. Has never backed Star Citizen, and is on the side of the game is pay to win. So we thought we'd go through the arguments from both sides of the debate, from the perspective of an outsider and an insider, and have a real discussion about this somewhat long debated topic.
Okay, so I want to be clear. I'm not saying the game is pay to win in the typical sense. I understand that you can't just throw money at it and have everything you want and decimate all life to teeny weeny pieces. However, when I say pay to win here, I'm saying so in the sense that I believe paying more gets you an advantage, which, in my opinion at least, is the definition of pay to win. Different tiers of package, etc. give you bigger and better ships, so if I paid, for example, £45 and you paid 60, you've been given more than me in terms of a better gameplay experience. So paying more and receiving more is paying to have an advantage and thus paid to win, no? If the game had a flat base cost and all players had the same hoops to jump through and everyone were capable of attaining the same ends with an even footing, then that's a fair and balanced game. If you can pay money because you want a unique skin or you want a different coloured jacket or whatever, then that's fair enough. Paying to tailor your experience doesn't give you a leg up on the competition, and that's totally different to what we have at hand here. You can quite clearly pay more money in this to have a better experience, which, to me at least, is pay to win.
So, straight from that, are we in agreement that as there's no competition, there's no end goal in the game, so it's not pay to win within the standard confines of that term? Yes, players can set their own personal goals, or the community could create competitions and whatnot, but these are not core to the game, and thus there are no win conditions. So, put another way, would it be fair to say then it's pay to have a different or better experience rather than pay to win?
Fine, you're going to pay to have a better time.
Right, we're in agreement. Looking at the bulk of your argument then, with regards to higher tiers giving an enhanced experience, that's probably the most common argument, and to a degree, I do actually agree with it, at least at the lower tier. So 45 quid is the price of entry for the most basic ship, which is the RSI Aurora. Don't bother with the Mustang, it's terrible. However, 60 quid then gets you into the game with an Avenger Titan. And when you compare those two ships, they've got exactly the same capabilities. They're both armed, they both carry cargo, they can both get you across the system in a single jump. But there's a clear distinction between them. The Titan has bigger hardpoints and more of them. The Titan has bigger missile mounts and more of them. The Titan can carry 8 units of cargo, the Aurora only 3. So in every way possible, the Titan is a direct upgrade to the Aurora line, and it allows you to be much more successful in the game from the word go, regardless of your goals.
So, that right there, then, paying that £15 more does in fact put you ahead of the curve.
It does. And a year ago, there would have been nothing more to say on the topic. You were always ahead because you only had the ships you pledged for with real money. However, as of a few patches ago, you can't just buy ships in-game, but you can also rent them with in-game credits. And for a lot of them, it's relatively cheap. For example, an Aurora owner can rent a Titan for, I think it's about 16k credits. That's an amount that's easily achievable within an hour. In fact, you can achieve that in a single mission, meaning that they get all the benefits of a Titan owner with very little work. Also, with the advent of persistence, it's now viable to work towards even the biggest and most expensive ships, which was something that wasn't previously possible. That goes a long way to revoking the oldest and strongest argument for it being to pay to win, in that the only way you could own the best ships was to spend real money.
Alright. Having easy access to other ships does diminish that head start, but it doesn't remove it. And it goes further than that, though. No? You've only mentioned the 2 bottom ships. For another 50 quid, you can move up to the Cutlass. I think it's called Cutlass. Anyway, that has more guns, more and bigger missiles, carries a lot more cargo. So I hear you on the competitive side of things, but it still feels bad if just because someone has a lower disposable income or whatever in terms of money, that they're going to then have a diminished experience playing the game. I shouldn't be essentially penalised, okay, for not wanting to or not having available the money to throw at a game in order to have the same start footing as everyone else. I mean, from my perspective, when you say that it's possible for everyone to work their way to bigger ships, well, why isn't that just the default option for all players indiscriminately? I'm leaning less towards pay to win now and more towards like pay to receive a brilliant head start, which, okay, yeah, it isn't as bad as pay to win, but it's still kind of bullshit, no?
I can see where you're coming from, but even the concept of really a head start is sort of debatable, especially something like the Drake Cutlass, or for the Miss Freelancer, which is basically the same price, has the same combat, range, and haulage capacity. Now, those last 2 points, they can't be disputed. It's a definite head start. But when you look at other aspects like combat, it's a totally different story. So, I own a Titan, and I can comfortably shred my way through a Cutlass with no challenge. The Freelancer, yeah, okay, it takes a beating, but they always fall apart in the end. Because the ships are sluggish. They're dependent on having other players flying with you to man turrets in order to stand any chance when it comes to combat. I guess what I'm saying is that, yeah, it's a head start in some aspects, but you're starting on the back foot in others.
I guess. I don't know. What if you've got like a troop of friends though, and then the whole sort of back foot aspect, or the paying to lose, if you want to call it that aspect, is negated, and it once again becomes a head start. It once again becomes pay to win. You bought the bigger ship, you got the friends, and off you go, owning the galaxy.
In some cases, yes, but only in multi-crew ships and only for specific scenarios. You can have 4 mates in a Cutlass. I'm still going to make quick work of you if you're daft enough to face me in combat.
Fair enough. All right, but what about then when you look at the ships that have unique functionality? So let's say you want to do some asteroid mining, okay? You need the Prospector, which costs, what, £150 on top of already buying into the game? Or, I suppose, £100 to upgrade to, if my maths is right there. This locks the ship-based mining, a whole gameplay mechanic, behind that there expensive paywall.
Okay, so the Prospector is admittedly one that irks me. Like you say, it's an expensive pledge to own the ship, and the cost to rent in-game is actually stupidly high. I think it's like 46,000 credits just for one IRL day. Now that does put a big price of entry in front of those who want to take up mining in the game on a larger scale. Even if it does take away every other gameplay mechanic. I mean, seriously, they're about as useful as an overturned turtle otherwise. And yes, okay, handheld mining exists, but it's not the same experience. Pay to win? No. Pay for a head start? Not really. It's sort of like pay to play a totally different experience without putting any work first.
Sort of, but it still does feel, from what you're saying, like pay to have it better.
I suppose it is, if that's what you're after. So, if I cast the net wider to cover all ships, most, if not all, do have like specialised roles, such as heavy fighters or bombers, you've got salvagers, exploration vessels. Now, yes, all ships can probably fulfill this task, but they don't do so in near the same way, which kind of makes them pay to win within their roles, but pay to lose in every other. Then you've got ships like the capital classes, which take a whole crew to do anything beyond getting them off the ground, and then they run at a constant loss without some serious money-making ability, so they're definitely pay to lose. Like, a lot.
Okay. Alright, I do see your point. I see the points you make. So far, I think we've established that there is most definitely like a luxury experience of sort. More money equals more fun or different experiences without working for it or working as much for it, which I've said many times already. To me, at least, it just feels bogus, man.
That's a fair comment. And, I can't entirely disagree. So, to conclude then, my view is somewhat complicated. There's no denying that Star Citizen is straight up pay to win at the lowest tier when going from an Aurora to a Titan. But once you get past that stage, it becomes muddied. Yes, more expensive ships have an edge or unique features in some areas, which does give an appearance of pay to win, but then they lose in all the others, which negates that. So that, combined with the existence of ships like the Prospector, in my mind, pay to win isn't right. The game isn't pay to win. It's rather like pay to experience different aspects easier.
I'll agree for the most part. I absolutely hate the pay to have it easy aspect. I mean, okay, there's no competition as such. If this were PvP, then I'd be a far grumpier boy than I am about it. But still, it does my head in that those with more padded wallets have access to more things, or at least an easier time getting to them. Skill players will of course catch up, but why should they have to catch up? Why is it not just an even footing? I could buy this now, funnel in loads of cash and stick my middle finger in the air, sure. But I'm not a douche. Well, I am, but not in this context. When I'm gaming, I don't want my hand held. I want to know that what I have achieved and what I have done is indicative of my strength as a player, not the strength of my bank balance.
Okay, that's a fair statement. And so that's how we both stand on the current state of the game's development. But I just want to look at the future then. So when the game hits beta in at least 5 years from now, it's not going to be possible to buy ships anymore. But with real cash, you can only buy, at that point, the basic starters. But what you pledge for now, you do keep. Now, it is worth keeping in mind as well that very few players have more than a single base ship. And a lot of those ships, they're limited sales quantities. So only a couple of hundred people are ever going to be able to buy them. And it does limit it to a very small percentage. We're talking like 0.01%, right? So does that change your conclusion at all when looking at the future?
Not particularly. Not to sound obtuse, but not really. Regardless of the percentage of player base, the fact and the principle in fact remain. If there was a wipe, then absolutely yes. They will have done what I wish they would have, and everyone starts off on an even playing field. But they can't wipe, because that's a massive fuck you to everyone contributing thus far. So people who pay now are still going to have an advantage, no matter what, and yeah, my opinion kind of remains unchanged. I'm gutted, really, because Privateer, Freelancer, they were favourites of my childhood, man. I miss them. And I want to buy into this. I want to love it, but I just can't. I hate the principle of it so much that I'm just not prepared to pay a penny towards it, which means I now feel as though I'm losing out on a game I would have otherwise enjoyed, which is, I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
So for you then, it's just simply a case of matter of principle, which is, fair enough. And I can't disagree with what you say regarding the wipe in there. That would be the right thing to do, but also really the wrong thing to do. Especially for the people that have put in hundreds, hell, some people have paid thousands towards it. So I guess we have a joint consensus then, overall. Pay to win as you go through the bottom couple of tiers, then pay for an enhanced experience beyond that. And that premise will persist even through full release, even if it is only for, the top 0.1%.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I agree with what you're saying. I don't like it, but my 2 pence, I suppose.
Just to clarify, before people start hammering away on the keyboards, we're not saying that CIG should not reward players for investing larger amounts of money into the game's development. That's not what we're saying at all, and we completely understand that they have to reward players for helping to support it. They are putting money, they are investing money into the project. It's just that perhaps doing so is kind of creating a definitive imbalance based on socio-economic conditions, especially with the tone moving away from higher tier pledges towards ship purchases. That is an entirely different conversation, and we won't go into that now. Actually, it's sort of like the real world, isn't it? I guess they kind of really do have the whole life part of Simulator down.
What, the people who pay the most get the best, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all from us. By all means, leave comments in below, but for the love of our Lord and Saviour Cthulhu, please be civil about it. And thanks all, we'll catch you next time.